Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. We are super excited to have you I see a lot of familiar names, but I'm happy to see a lot of you coming back for what we're calling the Career Glow Up series. This is our summer
Woo!
ready reset. So huge round of applause for you all for being here and taking the opportunity to glow up this summer, and also an opportunity to reset, to connect, and to work on some valuable skills this summer that we have heard feedback from all of you, from our partners, and this series has been very carefully crafted in order to address a lot of the needs that we know our students and young adults are facing.
Exactly, you guys. We don't just grow up, we glow up, right? And I know that Charles has us on the big screen in the classroom, so we are excited to have all of you. Um, again, those of you that are new to our network, or like we said, familiar faces. But for those of you who don't know, we want to, of course, remind you that we are Innovate Network. And why this work matters and our passion in this matters is because, as Cheryl just said, right? For us, it's really important to connect students to opportunities, to guidance, to be able to create community and spaces where we dispel, right? But we also run right towards challenges and building new skills. So this summer Glow Up series, as Cheryl said, lives true to the feedback that we've heard from you guys as far as where are areas we want to grow in this summer, whether you're doing an internship, exploring careers, taking care of family and getting ready for the next semester. That is what Innovate Network does, is be able to connect you to people like Lolo, and the wonderful folks that we have coming up for you this summer.
And let's think a little bit about why we're doing this Summer Glow Up series. So, for a lot of you who have worked with Innovate Network throughout the year, we've done a lot of really great work around like career readiness, mentorship, helping you really develop a lot of those key skills that I know several of you might already be in internships this summer or taking summer classes, which is all great. We want to make sure that we don't have a depletion or deterioration of skills. So this is a great opportunity to keep things going in a forward and upward momentum throughout the summer. So our goal is to continue to help you prepare for whatever that next step is for you, whether it's high school transitioning to college, if you're going into your sophomore or junior year. But we want to make sure that we are equipping you with not only academics, but a lot of those key skills that we know that you need. So networking, communication. We'll even do a session on financial literacy for those of you who are getting like your first paycheck from your internship. So really, this is just an opportunity to continue that personal growth in a low risk setting. So we're excited to being able to continue working on a lot of those skills with you all.
Exactly. We know from checking in with y'all, there have been some learning moments these past 2 semesters, but there's also been a lot of growth. So again, continue to invest in yourselves, and in this glow up. So again, to bring it back to why we're here today and why this reset matters, we know that in the timeline of it all, a lot of you folks and even some of you are still in the trenches when it comes to finals, and just that burnout that can happen, right? You all care about your grades and your academics, and you know the importance. So naturally, some stress is gonna come up, right? You're human. So for us, it's really important to not just go through this and then move on to the next thing, right? It's really about that mindful reflection and taking the time to realize, I have to be that stressed all the time, right? Like how much control over this can I have? So that's why again, our goal is to be balanced, confident, right? Adults who know those trigger points and know when to reset and what to do when to reset, right? Not listening necessarily to what other folks are doing, but what explore everything so you find something that works for you. So again, these are very practical tools, that I even remember investing in early on in my adulthood, right? And I still know exactly what I need to do when I need a reset, right? So again, internship, school, all of these pieces are training grounds for what kind of adult do you want to be, right? And I know us, we want to be really mindful of stressors and being able to take and tackle on challenges.
Appreciate you saying that, Ivana. And I just also wanted to call out that I see some messages coming through the chat as well. So since this is again a reminder, this is a new format for our students who have been with us previously, that this is a webinar style. So feel free to message in the chat. Those messages are going to be
Hmm.
coming directly to us as the hosts and our panelists today. So feel free to engage in that way, and we'll be sure to share where appropriate your messages with the group. But without further ado, we're so excited for today's session to
Yay.
welcome our session leader, our host, Laureen, as we affectionately call her, Lolo Fisher, who is a mental health specialist, expert in all things wellness, and I think like very timely to being able to kick off our summer glow up series. So let's welcome Laureen to today's session, and thank you so much for being here.
All right, I'm gonna stop sharing.
All right. Thank you so much. And y'all, what an honor it is because I have had truly like the honor and blessing of working with Cheryl and Ivana for a few years now and seeing the impact they genuinely care about you all. Everybody that's here, like virtually, if you're watching this on a recording later, they truly care. Truly, truly, truly. So I want y'all
Thanks,
to remember that and
Lolo.
know that
Thanks for saying
as
that.
we go through this, that include them as part of your community when we get to that point. Okay. All right. Everybody can see? Yes. Perfect.
This is
All
great.
right. So thinking about that summer ready reset, I wanted to target survival mode today. I think I have taught plenty of wellness sessions where it's focused on breathing techniques or grounding strategies, or we break down little tiny pieces of wellness that we can all try. And we will get some of those strategies within today's session. Don't worry. But I also want to break down a larger facet that I think many of us are experiencing, particularly when getting ready for job readiness, preparing for interviews that might be a really big deal to you because pressure does not mean you're not prepared. Pressure means you care. And what happens is if our body is responding in a way as if we're not prepared, it can prevent us from doing our best. And I want you to get into a place where you feel like you can have sustainable success, not that you're constantly battling stress, fatigue, and survival mode. So that's our summer readiness. All right. I am Lolo. Hi, y'all. You can call me Lolo. You can use my mama's government name, Lorene, if you like, either way. But my journey has been a little different as well. I am an educator. I started working in higher education in student affairs. I taught college classes. I also worked within cultural center spaces. So I saw stress firsthand. I experienced it firsthand, and I actually got burnt out multiple times to the point where it drew me to this field. I started learning how can I actually prevent the burnout instead of just constantly responding to it, reacting to it, managing it. And then I realized it was a problem for far too many of us, especially folks of color in educated spaces. And I want to see how can we prevent that more. So that's what brought us to this place. How can we still create, find, cultivate success communally and individually without abandoning ourselves? That's the hope. Let me make sure I have my chat box open too, because y'all can absolutely use that chat box throughout this whole thing. If I pull it up, is it in your way? Can y'all see it or is it
No,
filtered
we're
out?
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not visible.
And so far, Lolo, I'm like, this is amazing, right? Like, call it out. And yeah, we're appreciative of you.
Yeah, and I know this is a webinar format, but right away I just want to share that this is about our community building too, right? So this webinar format, even this is a way that we are trying to build sustainable success, something you can come back to, something you can listen again and be like, oh, you know what, I need to chew on that more. Maybe that hit me, but I need some time with that. I'm not quite ready to sit with that one. You can always come back. These are tools and intentional strategies that we're trying to build in that the Innovate Network is creating for you as resources to come back to. But that doesn't mean you have to pretend, oh, it's just on a screen. Bye. Like, forget about it. Like, engage with us. It's how you're going to get the most out of this session. So, whether you're in the classroom watching it on the big screen or you're watching it at home in an office, wherever you are, if you have the ability to take notes, I got like a little notepad next to me pretty much at all times. You can have a notepad, you can have your phone, just the notes app open. You will have some time for reflection throughout this. And then also, there will be some opportunities to drop things in the chat, and I'll ask Cheryl and Ivana to help me pulling some of those out later.
Awesome.
All right. So, three main categories I want to break down. The science. I'm not going to lecture you because that's not my job anymore, thankfully. But I do think learning about the science of survival mode is important so we can recognize when it's happening. So we'll kind of figure out what is the science just from that minimum perspective of understanding behind stress and survival mode, as well as thriving, so we can figure out what the gap is and how to erase that gap. We'll talk about how to recognize what mode you're operating in and then work through some practical wellness tools for this season specifically. Summer ready, thinking about your opportunity to reset, but also knowing that most of you still have a lot of roles and responsibilities you're playing right now. It's not a complete break. So, how do we work through that? How do we give ourselves a break when we're not being given a break, right? And then, of course, strategies for improving your well being and resetting overall, we will talk about as well. So let's make use of this chat. In one word, how are you arriving today? How are you arriving to this session? Or one word or phrase. I see survival mode help. Right. So overwhelmed, fatigued. Are you feeling energized, strong, curious? Give me one word in the chat. How are you arriving today? Okay, survival mode, stressed, tired, restful, weak, curious. We got a mix today, but I am sensing a lot of the fatigue in there. Okay. Excited. Good. I like seeing the blend because that means we can balance each other out. Collectively, we can balance each other out. Did I miss any?
Yeah,
Well,
excited, hopeful. Thank you, Professor Reed is noting that students are chanting stressed.
I need to hear this. Like little minions.
we're not alone. That being said, before we learn, I don't want you to start in a place of active stress. So let's take a moment to pause. You do not have to earn rest. That is my first reminder to you all. Before I get into any lessons and learning, my first reminder that I have had to unlearn is you do not have to earn rest. Likewise, you do not have to rush to be worthy. So, in that, I want us to take a moment to regulate together. This is your first strategy, but I'm going to practice it with y'all. We are going to go ahead and do a grounded meditation, grounded mindfulness exercise. It'll only take a few minutes. So if you are seated, I encourage you to go ahead and plant your feet where you are. If your legs are crossed, uncross them. Let the feet plant strong. Drop those shoulders away from the ears. If you need to shake them out and you didn't even realize you were holding your neck tense, do that. A little movement never hurt nobody. Well, maybe it did because I've had some injuries, but just a little movement. Don't hurt yourselves. Drop the shoulders away from your ears. I'm going to slow down my pace of speaking as well so we can collectively take that pause. If you need to get in touch with your heartbeat, maybe it feels good to rest the hand on the heart space. If you are somebody who starts feeling stress in your gut, you know who you are. If you feel it there, maybe it feels good to rest a hand on the belly. I know I feel mine in my solar plexus. A lot of times I like resting my hands right under the rib cage. Feels good for me. Wherever it is that helps you tune in, take a moment. Depending on the space you're in and your comfort level, you can close your eyes or just relax your eyelids, maybe drop your gaze low and intentionally pause. Notice if the breath feels fast right now, if it feels short, slow. You don't have to change anything just yet. Just notice it. Notice what thoughts might come through the mind, if it's easy to empty out and pause your thinking, or If all of a sudden your mind runs to to-do lists, or if there's a very specific topic that it's going to, let's make note of that. Again, we're not trying to change it right now. We're just trying to make a note of how our brain is functioning in this moment, how our body is responding. Beautiful. We'll enter into our breathing practice, being intentional with our breath. You already let your shoulders drop down from your ears. Now we can unclench the jaw, release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. If able, draw in a nice deep breath from the nostrils and exhale out the mouth, releasing it fully. Again, at your own pace, but try to take it a little slow if you can. Inhale through the nose. Exhale slowly with control out the mouth. Good. You are here. You are present. Take a couple more just like that. Inhaling through the nose, slowly out the mouth. My hope is you're not so close to someone they can smell your breath. So don't worry about breathing out. Let it be a sigh. Let it be a blow of the candle, whatever you need. If it ends up becoming a laugh, a yawn, let that happen. Let it go for a moment. You are here. This moment is enough. Taking a quick body scan. Notice any sensations in your head, neck, and skull, any tightness, if it feels good. You can notice that just sensing it, thinking in stillness, or if it feels good, you can add a little movement and check in. A little bit of somatic release by rolling it out if that feels good. Again, we don't want to enter into pain or pressure, only if it helps. Good. Moving down the body. How about those shoulders, chest? Do you feel open in the chest space? Do you feel enclosed? If you are sinking a bit, if you feel like your chest is concave and sinking, let's see if we can roll those shoulders up, back, and down, opening up the chest and heart space. Taking another deep breath. Studies show that this is a position of power and presence. It actually sends signals to your brain that you are more confident, even if you don't feel like it. So this is a really good one to practice. Nice deep breath, shoulders rolling back, chest open. Good. Okay, continuing to scan on down. How does that tummy feel? Does the tummy feel calm and settled? Is there a twisting sensation at all? Any rumbling? Just making note, noticing. If there's discomfort, we're breathing deeply and sending some love to that area. A little bit more energetically and consciously than physically, but if you do want to give yourself a tummy rub, Pooh Bears are welcome. Continue down the body into the hips, back, glutes, our low back and our hips tend to hold a lot of stress as well. When we are stressed up here, it drops down into a seated position for us. So if you feel like you always need to sit down and take a seat, sometimes that's exactly what your body's telling you to do. It'll hold tightness in those areas because it wants you to rest. So let's send some love in that area. Notice if there's any tightness or fatigue in those hips and low back. And then continue breathing gently, noticing anything down the legs, any tightness, warmth, or cooling sensations. Maybe wiggling the toes as you get to the bottom. If it feels good, you can try to space out the toes. This is a beautiful activity for grounding. Also depends on what shoes you have on. Thankfully, I do not have shoes on, so I'm spreading my toes out. A little harder in closed-toed shoes, so that might be one to take note of to try later. But spreading the toes out to grip the ground and remind yourself you are here, you are grounded, you are planted, you are alive. And I strongly, firmly believe you are alive for a reason. I'm glad you woke up today. So let's breathe that in. Breathe in the fresh air. Big exhale, let it go. Good. One more big breath. Think short inhale. Let's go fast. Hold it. Slow exhale. When you're ready, allow your breath to return to your natural pace. If your eyes are closed, gently blink the eyes to bring your awareness back. And maybe take a big stretch if it feels good, a rock side to side. Get your body back into awareness mode, but without bringing back that stress. All right. If your mind was still thinking, that's okay. This practice was not about stopping your thinking. We wanted to take note of the sensations in our body, take note of where our thought patterns were at, because we're going to go ahead and utilize that next. So I'm hoping
Folks
that
are
felt
feeling
good.
better in the chat, Lolo, just so you know.
Yay.
Professor
That
Reed said
makes
they've
me
stopped
happy.
chanting. We're feeling good.
Good. And sometimes, I know it's considered rude in a classroom to let out a big sigh, but if you need to step outside amidst between classes or even in the office space and let out a big sigh, there is something about that audible breath. I encourage it. I encourage it. Just give your boss a warning. Hey, it's not about you. It's a personal thing. All right. Okay. Let's keep going. You'll notice a word, a phrase, I should say, that I said when we were inhaling. I am present. I am here. I want you to remember that. And another way that we can think about it is when we exhale, we can release. So just as in when we're inhaling, we can get grounded, we can get centered, we can think of our presence. There's also an opposition. Think of it like a coin. We're flipping the coin. What's the other side of that? We're bringing in, we're centralizing, we're finding our presence. In order to receive and let in, we also need to let go. And sometimes so many of us are adding things to our plate, adding, saying yes, saying yes, saying yes, but we haven't made room for those yeses yet. And it starts with our bodies first. It starts with our minds. So just like you did with your breath right now, we inhaled, we exhaled, brought air in, brought air out. You can think of that even as a metaphor for life, a metaphor for your decision making. Before I say yes, do I have the capacity? Do I already have some space for that yes? Or will I need to shift things and release something? A big thing that we often have trouble releasing collectively, it may not be you specifically, but I can say it for me for sure. I need to release what I cannot control right now. And this is a phrase that we can write it down, say it out loud. We can add a hallelujah to it at the end. But we can inhale, I am present, and then think about what you need to release. So take a moment. This is your first reflection moment, real quick. What is one thing that you might need to release right now? Or what is one thing you want to make space for? This is a personal reflection. If you want to share in the chat, you are more than welcome to. But more importantly, I want you to write this down for yourself. One thing that you could release right now, physically or metaphorically, whatever it might be. Or if it's hard to think about releasing, you can think about something you want to make room for. Taking a moment here. If you don't have an answer just yet, everybody processes differently. If it's like, oh, you know what, I need to think about that, just write the question down for now. I will share these slides later with Ivana and Cheryl after too. So not only will you have the recording later on, but you will have a copy of these slides and can come back to these later.
Lolo, I'm not sure if you're seeing the chat, but we have some responses.
I don't have it open right now.
Okay,
Tell me.
I can share. A student in Professor Reed's class is noting doing better academically this semester. Marie says second guessing myself. Another
Mm.
student says being a better friend, my family pressure, not taking action, focusing on friendships, internship
Mm.
pressure, perfectionist. These are all great. Thank you, everybody, for
These are
sharing.
amazing. Yeah.
So good
I
answer.
mean,
Thank you so much for sharing. So much vulnerability in that too.
exactly.
Sorry about it. I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you going to say
Oh
something
no, I
else?
was agreeing. You know, all of these at one point or another, we've all felt. So it's just
Hmm.
amazing.
It's so true. Okay. So you're already saying it in some of those answers right there. A lot of times we're thinking about family pressure, we're thinking about academic pressure, the want to be perfect, the desire to please others and please ourselves. A lot of times we do have this element of people pleasing culturally, but then we start taking it on and putting our expectations so high of ourselves that even if people are out of the picture, this expectation is so high, it's hard to let go of or shake off. And then we hold on to this guilt or sometimes even shame when we don't meet that level of perfection that we held ourselves to in our mind. All of that contributes to survival mode. So, survival mode is asking just how do I get through this? But thriving asks long term. It's not short term, how do I get through this right now? It's how do I move through this sustainably? What does this look like 5, 10 years from now? Even a year sometimes is longer than the one day that we're looking at. How do we get through this? The one semester, the 1 month, this however long 6 week internship. It's going to be sometimes we get so short-sighted and stuck. That's survival mode. We want to be able to see the vision long term. And that's how we're going to explore the next frames today. Here's the science piece of it, right? Your nervous system is not fighting you, it's protecting you. We feel like we are fighting our nervous system, like, why won't you just work for me? I want to do these things. If you feel sometimes like you have the motivation, you know you want to do this, and that, they're all positive things, but even simple stuff that you've known you've done in the past, you didn't have an issue with, but all of a sudden, you're struggling to get that one email sent. You're like, it's one email. In my dreams, I'm literally dreaming of writing the email. Then I wake up the next day and I can't seem to write it. I can't seem to push through it. Your nervous system is protecting you. I know it doesn't feel like that. And I'm saying this heartfelt because I have been here not once, not twice, multiple times, over 3 times. And it was cyclical in my life for a long time because I couldn't figure out what was going on until I realized my nervous system was just protecting me. When you experience stress, your nervous system flares up and activates one of these responses: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So we know this in a physical sense of like, oh, safety. And we talk about this just in biology class, even, right? How our bodies want to react in terms of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, but we don't think about it in terms of our brain and our nervous system quite as much. When you feel like you can't do simple tasks, nervous system. My therapist actually referenced Amy G. Dalla. You can talk back to Amy G, your amygdala, right? We learn about our amygdala as operating this fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. But what if you personalized it? And you can just play with me for a second on this. Think about what you would ask Amy G, what you would tell Amy G if she's just trying to protect you. Whoa, 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 whoa. That project? Oh my gosh. Last time you tried to get in a group project, they did this. You didn't get any sleep. And then remember what happened? Your family needed you for that emergency. And you were so tired that next day because you didn't sleep doing that project that you weren't there for your family. And that's what really matters. So we're not even going to get into that. Now, the next time you get assigned to a group project, you start freaking out. You might fight and ask your professor, I can't do this. I'm fighting about it. I don't want to do it any other way. Not that way. I cannot do a group project. And you start fighting your professor, who is not the enemy, to figure out any other way to get around this group project. Maybe you freeze. You say, yes, 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 everything's good. And then all of a sudden, you're supposed to meet and you're stuck in your bed. I don't know why I can't get out of bed. I know I'm supposed to be there in 10 minutes. Something's going on. I don't know what is going on. I can't seem to fight it. So many different reactions that our body might have, but we don't realize it's just Amy G in there. It's Amy G trying to protect us from some experience we've had in our past that it now has converted into a fear, into a possibility of happening again in some negative way. So, another piece of our physiological system, right? Thinking about this is our vagus nerve. What is actually triggering that stress response? If Amy G is the one responding, who's alerting her? Who's signaling her? Our vagus nerve is a huge facet of this. And we just worked on signaling to our vagus nerve safety by doing that breathing and grounding exercise a second ago. That is exactly why I said, don't worry about what you're thinking. Don't worry about what you're actually feeling. The practice of actually pausing, breathing, noticing what your thoughts are, noticing what your body feeling signals enough to your vagus nerve, hey, I'm safe. I'm checking in. I'm aware. I'm conscious. You don't need to be in high alert mode. And that even is physiological. Our vagus nerve connects to our brainstem and starts as high as our brainstem and our inner ear canal. Sometimes, if you feel that pressure or ringing in your ears when you're really stressed, that could be your vagus nerve also flaring up. It goes all the way down our throat, down through our chest, all the way down to our solar plexus, even into our tummy area. It doesn't go quite into our stomach, but stops right about the end, at the beginning to the end of our rib cage, depending on where your rib cage sits. But thinking about this area specifically, right? Our throat and our chest, things that we can do right here to stimulate our vagus nerve in a positive way can help signal, hey, nervous system, I know you're trying to protect me, but I need you to calm down for this moment. It's not a flaw that our body is fighting us. It's actually a safety mechanism. So now we just got to train it. We got to teach it that it is safe. So this is what we're talking about. Here's some other examples. I know this text is a little bit long, but you already started working on these. Slow, deep breathing, especially long exhales. I know it sounds weird, but exhales are more important than the inhales. I know you're thinking breathing, don't I need to get air in? Yes. But if you're like, anxiety kicks in, breath becomes short, even if you can't get all the breath in, if you can slowly breathe out, that's going to be more important in gaining back some control of your breath, which a lot of times is what we're grasping for. We want some sense of control and safety. Focus on the exhale alone, and the inhale will start coming too. Cold exposure to the face and neck. Now, I have never tried those videos, but I've seen plenty of them. When they start in the morning, they dump the water and never tried it. I don't think it's my thing, but it could be your thing. So you can add it to your list as something that you can try
I can attest
to
for this
allow.
one. It's a good one,
Have you done
folks.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it wakes you up, but it also, like you said, regulates, right? Like I can find myself very stressed and it's like immediately cold water.
I will splash cold water on my face. I don't know about the ice.
Oh, the
I
cold plunge, that stuff
know.
is tough.
Yeah, I
Cold
see
plunges are
Marie.
tough.
Marie just mentioned the cold. Curious about cold plunges, but
Has
I think a
anybody done it?
shock to the system might do it, right?
Okay. Yeah, it's a shock to the system, and in this case, because we're talking about the vagus nerve, it's your neck itself. So, like, I have done a cold plunge for my body, and it has definitely helped, like inflammation and soreness. But I stopped right here, like I did not let my neck go down. So I'm almost on the opposite end. I did it just for my body and not for my vagus nerve because I'm a little scared of the cold
Hmm.
on my face, y'all. But I know
I see.
somebody in here's done it, I bet.
Lolo, we have a question in the chat asking, what do we do when reacting to
Okay,
stress?
yeah.
It's causing depression.
Yes, this is a really great question. So we are going to touch a little bit too on the layer of mental health connecting to this because our with mental health, and we'll say like anything that's diagnosable. So we're talking about depression, anxiety, even going into realms of ADHD, ADD, OCD, all these things can be activated or stimulated further if you already are experiencing it when your nervous system is saying, I'm not safe. So, me personally, I'll share because it is going to be different for every single individual. For me, I experienced both anxiety and depression. Now, I have had seasons and periods where I didn't feel any what I would call flare ups or heightened senses of anxiety attacks, deep depressive episodes, no major episodes for a long period. And then one thing that shocked my nervous system sent me into a deep low or, a longer period that was hard for me to regulate my nervous system and get out of. One thing can sometimes shock us and get us back into that place of what we would consider low mental health or low regulation of whatever mental health we're experiencing already. But here's the thing that we have to be careful of. We can absolutely experience stress without having an underlying mental health disorder. So, mental health and mental health disorders do need to be separated more in our conversations. We don't want to automatically assume that if we're feeling heightened stress, that it immediately means we have anxiety. And similarly, if we are feeling like, oh my gosh, I cannot get out of bed, I'm really stuck, our nervous system is responding in that freeze, flight, or fawn mode where it feels like we're stuck in bed. Sometimes, if you look that up on ChatGPT, if you look it up on Claude, if you look it up on Google, right, it's going to say, oh, you might be depressed. It's possible, but without seeing a therapist or a psychiatrist, that's not diagnosable just through, what we would look up on the internet. It would be more of a guess, and we do want to see a professional on that. I don't know if that answered the question though. So whoever popped that into the chat, please let me know if you have further questions. We can dive more into it as we go.
I think it did. And you were
Okay.
thanked by someone in the chat just saying facilitators do not usually share their personal journey. You are so strong. So, once
Oh, I
again, thank you
appreciate
for
it.
your
Thank you.
vulnerability and everyone else for being so vulnerable in the chat.
Yeah, we're in this together, y'all. We are. And I do think without centering it on any one individual, we learn so much from each other's experiences, right? So take note of these other things. Cold exposure, I said explosion. Cold exposure, humming or singing can also stimulate your vagus nerve if you're someone who's got the voice. Sing it sometimes. You just need to let it out. Maybe have a go-to favorite song. Maybe create a playlist. This is something that I have done that I love, but I can't sing for the life of me, y'all. So I do it in private. But have a playlist that's like nervous system playlist, the shutdown playlist, whatever you want to name it. When you feel like your body's going the wrong way, uplift it. I have an uplifting playlist, I have a shutdown playlist. Both are meant to, one, recognize where I am and just allow myself to feel, because sometimes we need to not always push ourselves to get out of it right away. And then when I am ready to shift, when I've recognized, that was what was triggering it, there's something that can help me shift out of it too. Music is very powerful.
Lolo, you mentioned
More.
the playlist as, and I do the same thing. I'm just wondering, to very timely, Max put into the chat, what's a safe way to utilize AI in our mental health journey, or should we avoid it entirely? And I immediately, like, as he wrote that, you mentioned the playlist. So I have definitely used AI to
Yeah.
craft a playlist before, but if you have
Mhm.
any ideas around that or thoughts.
Yes, use your tools, use your resources. There's very little that I'd probably ever say never to. Like, never use this. Absolutely use AI. I use AI almost on a daily basis. Even for this presentation, I would generate more ideas. Like the cold exposure was an idea from AI because I knew things that I used to regulate my nervous system and to stimulate my vagus nerve. Cold exposure is not one of them. So I found that amidst a list that I generated from AI, like, hey, what are some possibilities and different ways that I can stimulate my vagus nerve to positively shift my nervous system and indicate that I'm safe and indicate the resources that you have found this from so I can research further. That's for me, that's what I always do is like link the resources. I always ask AI to link the resources, whether it connects it to a podcast a lot of times. Usually it's a website that I can just like further research on. You can even specifically say, I want scholarly articles only if you want to do some more research there. But you can use AI in so many good ways. If you are more visual, you can also use some of these tools, or maybe if you create phrases, I'm going to go back a little bit. But when we did these phrases, I am present, I release what I cannot control right now. If you have a list of, 5 to 10 phrases that work for you, you can ask AI to create a graphic, an image, and then format it for whatever shapes, whether you want it on your laptop backdrop, whether you want it on your Zoom backdrop, if you want it on your phone as a screensaver, whatever it's going to be. I'm going to show my age in a second saying screensaver, sorry, but I know nobody uses screensavers anymore. Things like that, I would say use AI for all the way, especially when it comes to using what you already know and being creative about it or exploring a starting point that you want to take further. I hope that helps. That was a great question. Love it. Okay. 21 and 66. I am curious if somebody already knows where I'm going with this. Does anyone know what these two numbers represent? Days. It takes 21 days. It takes 66 days. Anything?
No guesses in the
No
whole room.
guesses?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, commonly it is thought that it takes 21 days to build a habit. Has anybody heard that one before? Yeah, and studies have proven it. However, most of those studies are older, and we have found that it actually takes 66 days, closer to 66 days on average, to build automaticity, which essentially is the fancy way of saying for a behavior to actually feel natural and not forced. So it also depends on how you define a habit. If you do something for 21 days straight, then yes, on day 22, you're more likely to say, yeah, I got to do it. But you're still going to be forcing yourself, most likely. It's still going to feel against your natural desire, against your natural inklings, right, of what you want to do. That state of automaticity where it's like, oh, I brush my teeth every day and I'm not even thinking about whether I want to do it or not. I'm just doing it. That naturalness that we're hoping for, it actually takes closer to 66 days, 2-ish months. So, with that in mind, when we shift out of survival mode and into thriving, a lot of times we want the shift to be automatic. I need to get out of this and be done with this feeling of survival mode. I want to be thriving. The reason I did not title this presentation From Surviving to Thriving is because thriving doesn't happen in an instant. We're going to talk about what thriving means, yes, but I want you to remember all throughout this understanding of thriving that it might take closer to 66 days to get to the optimal state that you want or closer to. So, especially for my perfectionists in the group, don't expect it to be an instant turnover. Don't even expect those 21 days. Think closer to 2 months to start seeing some realistic changes and shifts in your nervous system and how you respond to things. And I noticed a lot of you talked about friendships at the beginning too, as being one of those stress points. I promise you we're gonna get to that, okay? I'm watching my time because I know we're almost there, but I will make a note on that. So defining thriving, I like Mina Sabranian's definition of thriving, an optimal state in which individuals experience growth, fulfillment, and vitality in their lives. The reason I love this one so much is because it recognizes an absence of illness or distress, but also the presence of positive experiences, robust health, and personal development. Just like the inhale and the exhale. What are we inhaling? What are we exhaling, right? So another facet, I'll go through this one quickly just for the sake of time, but this is one that I encourage y'all to look up if it's something that stands out to you. Positive psychologist Martin Seligman's foundational framework, and it's a framework for well-being and how we contribute to our own well-being. Other studies have talked about this is how we make ourselves thrive, how we build a lifestyle of thriving and not surviving. But it's the PERMA model. P is for positive emotions, E is for engagement, actually connecting, R is for relationships, M is for meaning, and A is for accomplishment. Just for the sake of today, relationships is the other key piece I want to highlight here. And that is because as we look at our summer ready reset, go ahead and bring your notebooks back out because this is going to be our activity to make sure we take this home with us. We're connecting nervous system regulation, the whole first focus that we've broken down, with your relationships and connections. In other words, your community. So, what happens for you in survival mode? From that nervous system standpoint. And if it's not one of these things, that's okay. But let me see in the chat as many of the letters as fit for you. You don't have to pick just one because I am not a fan of check boxes. When stressed, I usually overthink, shut down, procrastinate, push harder, people please, or something else.
Procrastinate is a
What's
popular one so
yeah.
far in the chat. Ooh, overthinking coming up. People pleasing. Yep, shutting down. Awesome. Another one for people pleasing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So following up with this, for everybody that is interacting in the chat, I want you to just put a simple yes or no. When stressed, I usually phone a friend. Yes or no? In other words, do you keep it to yourself or do you share it with somebody? Do you process it with somebody? You don't literally have to use your phone, but do you phone a friend? Do you call on somebody? Do you lean on somebody? Yes or no?
Got a couple of no's, some yeses.
It
Mix.
would be
Okay.
interesting to think of as well, like how we define lean on somebody as
Mhm.
well, because that could be a phone call, a meetup, watching a video on YouTube with a counselor that you really like. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is so true. And everybody's going to be supported a little differently.
Mhm.
I know, and this is more telling, but I grew up in a house where it was like, what happens at home stays at home. You got to process, and your family is there to support you, but figure it out with your family, and then you go out in the world and you kind of put a mask on. And then I realized the mask was part of my burnout because I'm like, yeah, everything's great, and then internally I'm like, everything's not great, everything's not great, right? And actually, my mom and I especially, we've had so many conversations on this and have unlearned so much together, which is so beautiful. But it was hard for me to even bring it up with her at first because family relations and conversations like these can be really tough. But it's a big piece of understanding how we connect with people or when we are connecting, when we do make that connection. Cheryl just brought up with a counselor versus a friend versus a family member, or whatever it might look like. Are we connecting with a mask on and, just giving like little details or like, hey, I'm connecting, but I'm not actually telling you how I'm feeling? Or is it soul filling? Is it refreshing? Are we emptying? Are we getting refilled? That's a tough one. Ooh, I can't see the chat box. I just see it like lighting up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what's happening?
There's a lot of trying to do better. I shut down, I overthink. So often I know that I've heard from a lot of students that oftentimes like they don't want to burden anyone else with
Mhm.
like their stress. But I think very often from like the friend or like a counselor perspective, like you want to be there for the person that you care about
Yes.
and you're trying to be
Yes.
there, but they don't let you in. But I think that same person who doesn't want to burden anybody, they want to be there for their friend. So it's like this like never ending like loop of like nobody wanting to bother anybody
So
else. I think
true.
recognizing.
Yeah, and that's why if we can utilize these tools and understand better how to regulate our nervous system, understand the realistic timeline it takes to do that, how much better can you help your friends and family who are going through things too? Something that I was that person who didn't want to share. I was like on the side of like, I don't want to share because I don't want to burden somebody. That was exactly me, Cheryl. So I'm like glad you brought that up.
You're like
Exactly
quietly
me.
in crisis, you know?
Right,
I'm
exactly.
like
It's like
reading this
everybody thinks
chat and
everything's fine.
I'm relating, y'all, right? Like sometimes you call a friend and you don't even tell them what you're going through. You're just like, I need to hear your voice, right?
Yeah. And
I
sometimes
know
that is
what's
all
going
you
on for
need.
me.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all you need for the moment. But is that going to help long term? And one of the tips that I found was like, hey, I'll call a friend now, and I like this technique, I guess. I'll call a friend and say like, hey, I'm actually going through some things. I'm fine in the sense of I am upright, I am alive. I am not in crisis today, but I am not okay. Do you have the capacity to hear me out today, or is there a better time? Like, and they get to decide their capacity if they're true. And I've had my friends like, oh, girl, you know what? I'm in my own struggle right now. Like, I'm so sorry. I wish I could be there. Today's not the day. And I don't take it personal at all because I get it. And when you build those relationships, you're going to get it. You're going to be able to share that. And then I've had others where it's like, actually, I could really use helping somebody else and getting out of my own head. Tell me what is going on. So let them decide their capacity. Just ask. We won't know unless we ask. And it actually builds stronger relationships when we're able to share in that vulnerability. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make a quick note. And then some of these slides I will have to skip. I'm just going to have to go through them just a bit, but I don't want to skip this page because I want to recognize that culturally, Many of us have learned things, have been socialized with things, have grown up with things that can serve us as strengths, particularly in survival season, because there is a purpose for survival season. Sometimes we do got to get through a moment in order to get to a place of thriving, but we just don't want to get stuck in survival season. So, if anybody else can resonate, I've heard phrases like push through, figure it out. Don't complain, just make it happen. Like get your mind focused on the goal and just make it happen. That can serve us in particular seasons and particular moments for particular situations, but long term, those are not sustainable phrases to live by. Similarly, we've inherited strengths of resilience, resourcefulness, hustle, adaptability. Again, so good. So many things that culturally our ancestors fought to cultivate for us. We don't want to take that for granted. We want to hold on to that tight and utilize that as a resource in our toolbox to pull from when we need it, as something within us that we can pull out of us whenever we need it. Whenever we need it. We don't want to need it all the time, right? We're always needing to be resilient, always needing to be tough, to hustle. Then we don't allow ourselves to rest, to replenish, to pour from overflow. We are constantly pouring from a half empty or empty cup. And eventually that cup will dry out and break. You can't just keep pouring little droplets because you're going to keep feeling guilty or spread thin or eventually have nothing left. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We need you to be refilled. And finally, we also inherit challenges. It's just part of our life, and we get to choose which challenges we take on or not. Sometimes it doesn't always feel like a choice, but especially working with a therapist, I've learned we can choose some of those challenges. Exhaustion, hyperindependence, anxiety, burnout come from some of the challenges that we inherit. Familial, school, even just thinking societally, the challenges that we're facing as a society, as a culture. Okay, we've already talked about survival mode. This is one of those that I'm going to skip. Let's jump to the reflection questions so that we can really take this home. What pressures am I carrying right now and which feel the loudest? Again, you can take a screenshot or take a picture of this if you like, if you want to spend a lot more time with it. But I do want you to take a moment to at least just jot down your initial thought, your initial reaction while you're here in the moment, present. What pressures am I carrying right now and which feels the loudest? How is this showing up in my body or habits? Making a note, because I do want you to come back to these later. 66 days, remember, y'all. Small habits over the next 66 days that might shift and help us regulate our nervous system, but we got to be aware of what's going on first. How are those pressures showing up in our body or habits? Are we feeling tension in our neck? Are we tending to wake up later when we used to be morning people? Are we giving up things that we used to love, like going out to play games or going to the movies? Or maybe there's just things that brought you joy, hanging out with friends even, that you've just pushed to the side or put to the back burner, said it'll wait because in reality you're feeling too much pressure. What did you learn about making things happen? Or is there a similar phrase that you've been holding on to? Maybe it's about perfection, being good enough, striving for excellence, not bad things. What did we learn about it and what are we making of it? And then last question here, what would sustainable success look like for me? Really personalize it. When you think of that optimal state of thriving where you have positivity, you have strong relationships, good health, what does sustainably optimizing that look like for you? And once you've taken a moment to reflect on some of those individually, this last question is for the chat. Sustainable success would feel like blank. As comfortable as you're willing to share. You can make that a one word, kind of culminate it all together with one word. You can Write out a full lengthy thought. I am the queen of run-on sentences. I have to work very hard to create these presentations and not make run-on sentences. Whatever it is for you, no judgment here. Sustainable success would feel like what? Take your time, and I would love to read out some of these responses.
These are some good ones, y'all.
Hmm.
And thank you everyone for being so participatory. The chat is going
Oh.
off.
Ooh, I like softness. That's awesome.
Sustainable success looks like being happy and others not being disappointed. So many layers to that.
I see balance, bliss, peace, feeling comfortable and calm in a quiet room, productive, passing my classes. I hear that.
I think someone's making a note of earlier when we couldn't quiet our thoughts. Sustainable success would be quieting our thoughts.
Hmm. Or
That's deep.
being the friend that people reach out to when they need help. Ooh.
Any
Mhm.
others? Oh, providing for my family. I hear that. Reflection.
We could do a whole another workshop on productivity and how we define that too. I saw the word productive and I was like, another time I will go on 20 more minutes on that one. Wow, these are good. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing all of these. Wow. Keep them coming if you didn't get a chance to write yours in yet. There's no rush. I'm going to move to the next slide. You can continue typing them in. We're still here. Okay. I'm just going to read these quotes because I do find them inspiring. A couple people I wanted to pull out. Coco Gauff. I don't know if y'all watch tennis or not. I don't follow tennis, but she has sparked my interest a lot. And there's a quote that I really love that she said. She said, I've learned to not look so much at the results and tune out the outside pressures. It has taken a lot of work and I'm still growing and learning how to do that, but focusing on the process, trying to relax as much as possible and just have fun has always produced some of my best tennis. Right at the start of this presentation, I was reminding us that pressure does not mean you're not prepared. You all have been working hard. I know it. I don't need to know you to know you're working hard. By being this in this program, I know that you've been working hard. I know that you have people around you rooting for you and wanting to support you. And I also know that you're getting a lot of pressure. Pressure just means it matters. Nervousness, preparedness, they can coexist. So as you're preparing for big things, hopefully we can take Coco as a little bit of inspiration. She even herself is saying, I am still growing. I'm still figuring it out. There are a lot of outside pressures, but how can I have fun? How can I enjoy the process? How can I figure out how to relax as much as possible and still be my best? And she, if we're talking about productivity, she's been producing some amazing tennis, some amazing performance wins, right? One more I wanted to highlight, Simu, one of my favorite
You're
actors.
doing all my
But
fave.
yeah, I was like, he's one of my favorite actors. I don't know if y'all know this, but he had a book that he wrote. And in the book, he said, whether you like it or not, you're getting better at something every day. No matter what you choose to do with your day, you are either helping to create a new habit or solidifying old ones. We talked about the 21 days versus the 66 days. Whichever one feels right for you, or if it's somewhere in that range, just remember every day matters. in the same sense that if you mess up one day, it's not going to derail the entire 21, the entire 66 days. But if you mess up one day and the next day you choose differently, that does matter because you are going to get better at something every day, right? Little bits of progress. There's another book when we talk about 1% better every day, right? It doesn't even need to be 1%. If you got 0.002% better the next day, it still counts. Paths are not always linear. Evolving is allowed. And that is another phrase we can write in our book. I am allowed to evolve. So I'm going to skip some of these. Okay, last piece I want you. I hopefully you have your reflection books out still. The 5 people I'm going to challenge you this summer to connect with over the next 2 months-ish, 2-ish months. I say 2-ish because 66 days, right? Over the next 66-ish days, I want you to make sure you connect with your top 5. In order to thrive, according to different studies, you should at minimum have connections with these 5 in your life. A confidant, somebody you truly can empty out to, share your things with, and trust that it'll be secure in sharing with them. A career partner, or it might be an academic partner, just depending on what stage you're in. And a career partner or academic partner can be an advisor. That just depends on who do you talk to about your career goals, your academic goals. Who do you get support from in that way? Do you have a buddy where you're like, we are both working towards this goal. We study together, we do all these things. And if you don't necessarily have that person right now, then an advisor might be a good option for this season. A fitness buddy, because your physical wellness does matter in whatever way that is. Some people are built for CrossFit, some people are built for restorative yoga, and I want to lay in Shavasana for 20 minutes, okay? Whatever it's going to be for you, find somebody who can enjoy it with you and keep you accountable to take care of your body. A mentor. Mentor can be spiritual, it can be intellectual, it can be academic, career. Everybody can kind of define mentor differently. But starting with Cheryl and Ivana, if you haven't already, talk to them, spoken with them is a great way to start and make sure that you have connections with a mentor. And then a soul filler. I did rename this one because it says romantic partner in some studies, and others it's like an adventure buddy, someone who helps you have fun to release. And then others says like your bestest, estes friend, like your soul connection. So somebody who truly fills your soul. When you're with them, you lose track of time, you enjoy the time together, and you have a deeper connection with your spirit, with your soul, whatever that might be. So if that is a romantic partner, great. If you don't have a romantic partner in your life right now, there are other people who can fill your soul. All right. So don't worry. I'm not saying go find a romantic partner. No, we don't all need boo things. Whoever that is for you. So if you don't have your top 5 already, work these next 66 days to try. You don't need to be solidified even. If you try meeting with like 5 people and none of them feel right as your mentor, that's okay. As long as you try, you're reaching out, you're making those connections. There's a little checklist that you will have when you get these slides of just ways that you can connect with those top 5, different ideas. And that's it.
Yay! Thank you
I
so
always go
much,
with the more
Lolo.
than less.
Yeah, no,
That
this
was
was
so
amazing, and
awesome.
my cup is full. You know what I mean? Like
Thank
this
you.
is amazing, and to think that folks who are much younger than me right now, right, are thinking about this so early on in your lives and your careers. Every time we hear Lolo speak, it just gives you a whole checklist of things that you need to make sure that you're paying attention to, deeper than classes, deeper than academics. Like this body and this mind have to take us to the finish end, folks, right? So.
Mhm.
We
And I
appreciate you, Lolo.
appreciate you. And I
Thank
see
you.
everyone putting in the chat. This was amazing. I'm going to work on some of these skills. Thank you. This was helpful. Agreed. I feel like this type of work is ongoing and you need to keep practicing and reassessing where you are each month, each week, each semester, because it changes. So appreciate this like check-in and it gives us a lot of homework. For our students and those of you who are on the call, we will be sure to send out the slides as well so that you can have some homework and like do some follow-ups. And we'll also be sure to post our recording. Thank you, Ivana, for already putting that up because I know we're at
Yep.
time, but we love to assess over here. So please make sure that you, if you can scan our QR code for the assessment, it was a
Oh,
previous
so
slide,
sorry.
Ivana, in terms of feedback. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's session. We'll be sure to send that out via email to you guys. And then our
Perfect.
next session coming up is June 26th. So we are going to be doing monthly sessions. This one's going to be on, we're calling it the care factor. So I know a lot of you out there are thinking about field or the healthcare field, careers in medicine. What should I do? What's out there? This is the session for you where we'll be talking about other opportunities within medicine. So even if, like, let's say you are a psychology major, that's completely fine, but it's just great to gather information. So please make sure you register for that session. It will be hosted by our partners at Charles Drew University, the Medical Society. And for those of you who are not familiar with Charles Drew University, that is a what we love to call affectionately like one of like the HBCUs of healthcare. Um, based here in Los Angeles. So definitely check out that session and we'll send out a few reminders for that coming up on June 26th.
Yep, and we want to make sure that everyone, if you haven't seen our full flyer of what's coming up this summer, right, aside from June 26th, we'll see you there. We also have financial literacy and money matters, right? This next chapter of your lives. We just got ready, right, in all these spiritual, holistic ways, right? But we also need to make sure that our money is right. And then we'll have some specific, career exploration sessions at the end of the summer as well. So excited to see all of you there. And I want to make sure that each of you, can click on links and we'll make sure to send that out.
All
And
right.
as always, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube so that you can see this session over and please share it. Like, follow, share, all those things. We are very excited to continue to build community even through our YouTube, right? All right. Thank you so much, folks. We appreciate you. Thank you, Lolo. And again, remember 66 days. We got this.
Right. Appreciate you all. We'll see you soon. Thank you
Thanks,
guys.
y'all.